Hi, my name is Yona. I'm the after school leader at Field Teen Center, and today I'm going to talk about Dreamland Burning by Jennifer Latham, a novel that cuts back and forth in time to tell a story about the 1921 Tulsa massacre from the perspective of two different mixed-race teens, one who's alive in this day and age and one who was alive in 1921 during the events. I listened to it as an audiobook on Libby, which I really enjoyed, even though it is a very stressful book towards about the middle and the end, because half of the book is set during the Jim Crow era and the entire story deals with racism pretty heavily. There's some heavy stuff that happens, but I was really invested in the characters and finding out what would happen to them. And I also found it really educational. I didn't know a lot about the Tulsa Massacre before I read this book, and it inspired me to learn more. And I hope the same will be true for you. So our main characters are Rowan Chase, who is a mixed race teen living today. She's half black and half white. And Will Tillman, who is half white and half Osage Indian, white presenting, and alive in 1921. The story kicks off when Rowan discovers a body buried on her property, someone who was murdered in 1921. So she is busy trying to figure out what happened. She shadows the forensic investigator. She starts looking up information in the public record and interviewing people who were related to people involved in some of the incidents. Meanwhile, she's also working at a local clinic, shadowing a doctor, and seeing how providing medical care isn't just about medical knowledge, but it's about listening, which is a skill that really comes in handy as she's trying to unravel the mystery of this body that has turned up on her property. And in the middle of all of that, she gets involved in an incident with a racist driver and has to deal with the fallout from that, how it affects the community and her. So interspersed with her investigation and dealing with this racist incident, we learn about what was happening in 1921 from Will's perspective. So his dad was a shop owner and sold record players to, of course, upstanding white families and low-key to black families as well. And Will gets to see how black families and white families are treated differently. And he also makes friends with a black customer. So he starts to form some opinions about how black people should be treated and what equality looks like that differ a little bit from his dad's opinions and definitely from another shop owner who's trying to get them both to join the KKK or else. And his opinions are really put to the test when the riot kicks off and his two black friends are put directly in danger and he has to either step up or let bad things happen to people he cares about. So I was actually really surprised by how this story turned out. When we find out that there's a dead body and we're watching the events unfold in the past, I expected to learn that the body would be one specific person. And I ended up being surprised by what we learned about the body, who it was, and how they got there. I do think that Jennifer Latham manages to paint an interesting, complicated picture that people feel real. They're not one-dimensional. They're both flawed and they do good things. But I do want to point out that Jennifer Latham is not a black writer. She's white. So I think this story is great. I recommend it. And I also recommend reading stories about the 1921 Tulsa Massacre from a black perspective. So shortly after I read this story, I also read Stamped, Anti-Racism and You, or Racism, Anti-Racism and You, I should say, which also talks about the Tulsa Massacre a little bit. And I was glad to have both perspectives. So definitely read this book and also definitely check out books on these subjects that are by black authors. If you have read this book, send us a DM or an email and let us know what you think. Would you recommend this book? Why or why not? We'd love to hear from you.